Hey everyone, it's Arick Wierson here with The Observer. I'm here at the Union Club in Manhattan where IMN is putting on the AI in Real Estate Conference. I'm here with Rice Park Capital Management's Chris Bixby, who leads their technology venture fund. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Eric. It's great to be here with you.
Let me ask you a question. I think we're sort of at a crossroads here in the industry where certainly the focus of this conference is AI and real estate and the mortgage market, but certainly there's another sort of change that's come about in the last few years, which is this sustained period of high interest rates. How is the confluence of these two factors really sort of affecting the industry?
I think it's going to be a big time and point of inflection in this industry.
What will be the ripple effects of that?
So we're seeing unprecedented times in terms of rates higher for longer. And then we're also seeing unprecedented times in terms of the adoption of technology through the use of AI. And what we're looking for is we're hoping that these confluence of factors will create actual real change in the industry and create innovation that we haven't seen before in mortgage. And so we're now in this spot where mortgage rates are about that 7%, but I think we're in this point where it's going to be higher for longer, and we don't have an outlook in terms of when that's going to adjust.
So Chris, let's just peel this apart a little bit. So on one hand, obviously we're here to talk about AI and technology and how that's impacting the industry, but let's go back a little bit. I think that first and foremost, you alluded to this, we're in this era of, the highest interest rates we've had in 20 odd years. But how has that sea change, independent of technology and AI, how has that affected the mortgage lending market? What types of changes is that causing that maybe the consumer doesn't see, but if you're in the industry, let's go upstream a little bit. How is that impacting how this whole sector, how the whole lending space operates, the mortgage sphere as they call it?
It's had impact on lenders, and then it's had impact on this broader mortgage ecosystem or sphere overall. And the challenge will be as IMBs are falling out of the market either through consolidation, going out of business, M&A activity, or closing up shop, is going to be that they were the ones that were originating mortgages to FHA, VA, so veterans, rural, and then non-white populations. And so with them leaving the market, it's something we need to be worried about. And we need to be very cognizant about who's going to pick up that volume and address those affordability and accessibility issues going forward.
And now that rates are higher, they don't have those same advantages, and that's why they're susceptible to either consolidation or, in some cases, perhaps even going out of business.
That's exactly right.
So if you're an IMB and you're facing these headwinds, Rice Park Capital Management's thesis is that the solution is technology. It's AI or it's other types of technology. They're going to enable them to be more competitive, to be more agile, to be more efficient. Is that your thesis in a sense?
It appears and seems that AI is changing technology faster than it ever has before. And so every company we talk to is looking at how to ingest it, how to think about it. The limiting factors are primarily around the element of compliance and regulation in the industry and mortgage in particular. And so the government agencies, Fannie and Freddie and even Ginnie, have very big impact in terms of the decisions that banks and non-banks make from their technology standpoint. And they are generally concerned about a lot of elements in AI. So one of the examples is AI can create bias upon bias. We really do need to think about the impact of AI and its ability to create bias in the system and perpetuate biases that have been in and around mortgage origination and underwriting. And it's something that we're going to continue to monitor and understand is the implicit bias that AI can have.
So, Chris, one of the other trends that there's obviously been a lot of ink used to write about this over the past 10 years or so, but this rise of the so-called gig economy, where people are no longer working traditional jobs where they're salaried, they have a health plan, et cetera. They're bouncing around as 1099 from this to that. And certainly that has created some difficulties or challenges, at least for the mortgage sector. How do you see AI and other technologies enabling the industry to sort of adapt to this new trend in how people are paid or how they're employed?
I think, first of all, the groups, which are the agencies, which are Fannie and Freddie, that are primarily responsible, and FHA is another group, primarily responsible for the underwriting standards, which means who gets a loan and which one the government backs, are still relatively archaic. So the last big point of innovation was late 90s around automated underwriting. But unless they're approving of the guidelines and the process for AI and how it's going to work within this mortgage piece, we're not going to make progress. I mean, we look at this Gen Z consumer versus millennial consumer. People are waiting longer to buy homes. They're more likely to have a second or third job. They're more non-white than any other population in history in terms of the demographics, and they're often also, there can be immigrants in that population. So all of these general trends that are kind of coming out of Gen Z, coming out of millennial, and kind of this disruption broadly from a generational standpoint, these GSEs, government-sponsored entities like Fannie and Freddie are going to have to rethink how they underwrite. So yes, underwriting has to change. We think that consumers with multiple jobs, there's different ways to lend against them. They're actually very creditworthy, but there's a lot of work that has to go into this. And we're concerned about affordability and access. But right now, over the next couple of years, it's going to be really hard for, I'd say, this new generation of home buyers to both afford, but then also get access to a home. I think what we need to be looking at and considering is that home ownership may become just for the wealthy.
You think that home ownership, which has been this pillar of the American dream for decades, for generations, is actually becoming a luxury good?
I think it may be time to rethink the pillars of the American dream and whether homeownership may become a luxury good.